you have to create a community. I think CrossFit's done that really well. Like you create this, you want to belong to something. John Tureen, who was the strength coach for the Indianapolis Colts for a long time, he told me that you'll get former players calling him, and they don't miss the game, they miss the locker room, and they miss the guys. Like, are you creating that kind of place where people want to hang out? Like, do you have that fence built around your members where you're like,
Welcome to Barbell Business. I'm Mike Bledsoe here with Doug Larson and Marcus Gurzy. And we are up in L.A. hanging out with Alwyn Cosgrove of Results Fitness. And this is really cool for us because your stuff is some of the stuff that your books, that your blogs, things you've wrote about business are some of the first things that we used to build out our gym operations.
So like 10 years ago.
So there's like a thinly veiled insult as to how old I am, right? Like it's that your stuff way back in the day was good.
It's a real honor to be able to come up here.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited.
You bet. So I know your gym. I kind of used to think of you guys as like a fat loss gym, but you were saying a second ago that you kind of got known for that, but that's not really kind of how things are. So what was your evolution like getting started, growing the gym, like in the early days, and then where are you now?
Well, the very early days of my career, I started in competitive martial arts in taekwondo and kickboxing, and I went to college to study how to be a better athlete, just purely selfish reasons. It was never I could make money from it, but it was never going to be full time. The sport wasn't there like that, and nothing like the UFC existed then. But when I was at college, we had to do a paper on health and fat loss and general health, and I got an A on the paper, and I gave my mum the program, and my mum died from a heart attack due to obesity, having not lost a single pound on this program that got me an A in the academic world. And then just from that point, every time I looked at world sport, it was getting better and better. The squat record goes, the 5K record goes, the 100-meter goes, it's better and better and better, and we're in the middle of an obesity epidemic, and we're just, as a general fitness model, we're failing. And that really became, it's an overused word, but that became my passion, is that I think that, your why is to help. Like, we've got a bunch of athletes at Results Fitness, and we've got people that do things at high level, but my why is to help the person that doesn't get help. And I think in the beginning that that's what we were known for, and then obviously with some of the writing I did through because Men's Health I did a lot of writing for. They always want a fat loss thing, like there's always that, so you tend to get known for that. And I did a lot of articles on like myth busting of fat loss, perhaps, that aerobics isn't great and so on, and you sort of become known for that even if it wasn't your intention. But the gym becomes beyond that. I think that's how everybody comes in, but it now becomes I think, as I was saying earlier, people start looking for the next thing. There's only so long they're going to pay your fees, right? If you take a female deconditioned married woman and she loses the fat and she looks great and she's happily married, well, you're just giving her a new body. What is she going to do with it? Like, she's going to continue to pay your fees just to maintain? Or is she going to do a figure show and get extreme lean? Perhaps not. But at some point you got to have a graduate program. Like you graduate high school and you go to college. You graduate college, you go to a master's degree and so on. And I think that's I feel like that's now our sweet spot right now, and that'll evolve over time. Is that we've got this people that have been with us for a long time, and they're moving into doing, becoming athletes. Maybe not at a high level, but at a strong level. But yeah, that's what I think it's where it started. It's you respond to what the customer's asking you. You respond to what articles Men's Health ask you, and that was it for a little while. Although we still get a lot of those people and we still do very well in that market, I don't think I have any secrets there anymore. Like, I don't think telling people that circuit training is superior to jogging. I don't think that's cutting edge or controversial anymore, or interval training works. But Yeah,
But
that is. I think that is what I was first known as.
Right. Yeah, I remember thinking that you and your wife were some of the first people I ever heard that were really pioneering high intensity interval training as opposed to steady state cardio.
Mhm.
And now that's debatably mainstream at this point, but
Yeah.
you guys were one of the first people I remember really laying that out consistently over time, not just as a one-off comment, but like that was like one of the things that you guys really, I think, you guys set the industry in that direction.
But also to be heard, you have to take this extreme stance, right? Like I didn't, like as I don't know if there's any pictures around here, but Rachel was on the. She completed an Ironman triathlon. There's a lot of steady state work there. We've got a lot of endurance athletes who come in the gym. There's a lot of steady state work, but you have to take this stance that that's the devil and it will kill you if you do any of it to even get heard.
Right.
So it's sometimes that I think I came across as a little anti-aerobic that I really wasn't. But in order to get the message across, I was very strong on interval training is superior. And I think it's funny now is that it's almost flipped the other way. I see a lot of people, preaching that we need low intensity recovery workouts and things for clients. And from a physiological point, I understand what they're saying, but I don't get those a number of training units with people. Most of our guys are 3 days a week,
And
like
most
I don't
people aren't training
like
5, 6,
yeah,
or a dozen. I mean, if you're training 12 times a week.
Yeah, I can put in a low intensity
Yeah.
recovery. I'm getting 3. If I can get a 4th one, I would still go hard, right? I've never had a situation I'm like, we're going too hard all the time,
Yeah.
So I conceptually I get some of these ideas and I'm like, it has absolutely no application with my people, right? I'm getting an average person for 3 hours a week and I've got to try to get everything done. So
Yeah.
it's just not a good use of training time, perhaps.
So on average, how long are your clients staying with you? You said you've created this progression,
Yeah.
and keeping people for a long time. What is your average client
Well,
length?
that's the idea. Is that it's crazy because we've got people with us 17 years since we opened, because it's now their community. It's what they do. Like it's the you've probably talked about it on the show. The concept of the third place, that people have homework and one more place. And in the 80s it was Cheers in the bar, and in the 90s it was the coffee shop and Friends, and now it's the gym. So it becomes their third place, their place to hang out. So our average number is quite high. It's in the close to 10 years. But of course some people come. If our athletes that go away to college and they come back in the summer and then they move out of town, so they would be I count them as a non-renewal. If they didn't renew, they're a non-renewal, right? But I've got people that have been with me 17 years. So I'd say the average is probably, and the average is beyond 7. So people stay for a while, but they evolve into something else, right?
That's incredible. I don't think I've ever heard of a gym having that type of retention.
Yeah, I mean it gets skewed because you get somebody that's been with you, 17 years and stuff like that, right? But it's about building a fence, right? I want to be the last gym you'll ever join. Like if you leave me, it's because you don't want to. Like how did I lose you? You moved away. Okay.
I'm sick of being shredded.
Right. but part of it is what if I got you to the goal that you wanted, and you didn't renew, why not? Is it because I didn't put the community together? Right? I didn't put the like it
wasn't big enough.
And there's a point where there is a how much will you pay for a gym membership, right? If you're just maintaining, right? But I understand it, but I try to create something bigger than a workout program. You try to create something where people want to stay.
I think it's typical in the CrossFit space specifically for athletes in about the 18 to 24 month or 12 to 24 month, depending on how fit they were when they came in. They do the high intensity training, and then at about that point they want something else. Like either they've gotten what they wanted out of it, or they end up with this goal that doesn't really fit the training and all that kind of stuff. What's your advice for someone who's running a big box like that?
I think I don't remember the exact numbers, but there's only so many people in martial arts get their first belt, and then one of the second dropout rates is just after they get their black belt. Like so few people get a second degree black belt or stay on because there's not the excitement, right? So I think it's you have to create a community. I think CrossFit's done that really well. Like you create this, you want to belong to something. John Tureen, who was the strength coach for the Indianapolis Colts for a long time, he told me that you'll get former players calling him, and they don't miss the game, they miss the locker room, and they miss the guys. Like, are you creating that kind of place where people want to hang out? Like, do you have that fence built around your members where you're like, I opened across the street with better equipment, lower prices, and newer stuff. Would I take your membership? Then you don't have a membership, right? So are you really creating a community of like-minded people? So that's what. And I think little physical challenges, like maybe it's a Spartan race or something like that. I think they're good to throw at people, because it's at some level, like I'm in the shape that you're not going to get me in better shape for the effort I'm willing to put in, and I'm getting bored with this. What's the next thing?
Yeah.
And it at most of our price points, it does become I can do this circuit in my garage for a couple of $100 a year,
Right.
and you're charging a couple of $100 a month. So there is it something bigger than your workout program? And the good ones are, even if they don't realize it, like it's about that community and that sort of kindred spirit where you're something bigger than yourself.
You guys do small group classes. They're not humongous. How do you create that community?
The bulk of what we do, we call it semi-private training, which is it's like semi-naked, right? Right.
I can see what you did there.
Right.
Sign me up.
but the idea being is that you're going to be on similar programs when we're going to scale it, right? But so the template looks similar, but you might be doing slightly different things in different phases. So that's the bulk of what we do. Our group class is a little more metabolic, but it's really about they're on the wall. They're our core values. Everything we do is based around your core values and trying to create a culture. Like that's if we went down a strip mall here and we looked in at 8 different martial arts, and I goes, that one there, they've got white suits on and coloured belts. That one there, they got white suits on and coloured belts. And that one there, they got white suits on and coloured belts. Which one do you choose? One's taekwondo, one's jiu-jitsu, and one's karate. Just looking in the window, can you tell what the difference is? No, you can't, right? Unless you've got some knowledge. If I look in and I see you doing kettlebell swings and battle ropes, what is this, CrossFit gym? And next door, it's that same thing again. Like that part doesn't differentiate it, but I see one place where they're sweating and smiling and having a ball, and the music's pumping and the energy's there. Another place that looks kind of serious. Then I know I'm not going to go to the serious place. I know Stuart McGill, for example, would only go to the serious place, right? That's his core value. So I think it's about what's your culture like. Like that's the thing. That's the sort of the intangible that makes it. Cheers is where everybody knows your name. Right, that's the idea. Is that there's a reason why Nike beats Under Armour and Adidas and Reebok, and it's usually a core value or a culture issue. There's a reason why there's this beats this as a business. It's usually not the product. It's usually something else, the level of customer service, the standard. But it's really this. It's kind of a soft topic, but it's one of the most valuable ones. Is if you build a culture that where just people want to belong to this. Like, do you want to be do you want to be? As I said, I want to be the last gym you ever join. If you leave, it's because you moved out of town, right? And I'd like to be the last gym as a trainer that you ever work for. Like, I'd like to create a career path for staff and like that. That's the idea. Is just workout stuff's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So
I think that's a mystery for a lot of gym owners, is how to create a career path.
Yeah.
That's a big challenge. Just simple compensation.
Yeah.
It seems to be a mystery,
Well, I think from the traditional big box gym, though, once you became a good trainer, you became a manager or a salesman, and they took you out of your role, right? So now you got promoted to make more money at something you're shit at, right? Like, how did that happen, right? And I think there's different things that it results. I separate the roles for a coach who, I think program design's a different skill set than coaching a session. If I asked you to say, like, you had to save your business by giving the greatest workout that the world has ever seen in terms of energy and excitement, and you could have anybody in the world deliver it, then maybe you get, a Todd Durkin or a Martin Rooney or somebody like that who just, rocks the mic the whole time and just brings the intensity. But if you had to write the single most scientifically proven effective workout that the world has ever seen, no disrespect to those guys who are really good at it, I don't know if they're my top choices. I might get a Mark Verstegen or somebody like that doing it. So I'm like, it's like two different skill sets, and our industry's tried to get this guy who wasn't good at either one. So I think of coaching and program design as two different roles. So part of how we structure it is that there's a promotion into that side of things, and it also helps with my system, so that, like, if I join your gym and I want to work out with you on a Monday and you're not available, so I decided I'm going to come on Tuesday and work out with you. If that program's not the same, then it's like going to McDonald's on a Tuesday because Stevie works the grill and he does the Big Mac better, right? Like that, you don't go there because of the personality, you go there because of the system, and that's part of it for the compensation. So we kind of draw a pyramid of here's the skills you need at each level, and you move up to the next level on the pyramid. And but at some level, compensation is important. It's the base level. But at a certain point, giving someone more money isn't the key for longevity. There's a book, A Peak by Chip Conley. Have you read it?
No.
He brings the Maslow's hierarchy of human needs to the employee situation, and the level 1 is like compensation and base expectations. Level 2 is recognition, and recognition can look a lot like a raise, but it can also look a lot like increased responsibility, that I'm going to give you more work.
Mm-hmm.
And the top level is this feeling of contribution and growth to something bigger than yourself, right? And you see it like we got a Mac computer there. I've seen people with Apple tattoos on their body. You can Google that and you'll see people with Apple tattoos. You don't see too many people with Microsoft or Dell, right? Because they've created something bigger than themselves, right? You'll see Harley Davidson tattoos on people, but you won't see Suzuki or Kawasaki too often, right? You'll see it because there's this culture and there's something that this is our mission, right? People, they don't work at Disney, they become Disney. They get completely immersed in that culture. And I think part of the longevity for staff is understanding the beyond compensation part, like the recognition and the growth, and that's if you can get those two, you can keep people for a long time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But in regard to creating that career path, the compensation definitely has to be. I know a lot of gyms that we work with, they're not even bringing in enough money to compensate at basic levels to be able to have a full-time staff. I think most gyms in the space that we work in are still struggle to pull in full-time coaches. Most coaches are part-time at this point, so
it becomes this horrible little circle, right? Where I want less people making a good living, right? But in the beginning, you don't have enough people to give them enough work. But you've got to. That's where it's got to start. You've got to this budget has to exist for me to get enough people that the second that I step out from coaching it myself, there's enough money for this guy to make some money. And it doesn't have to be a lot per hour. Like I see coaches making that mistake. Oh, we're charging $70 for a personal training session, so I'll give the trainer 50. Like that, that's never going to work. That's never going to be sustainable long term for any type of business model to give up that much of the income. But you need to have enough hours for them to make some money, and ask your staff, like, what do you need to make to be full time here? And that doesn't mean I'm going to give that. Like if you say I need 1,000 a week, I'm like, okay, that's going to look a lot like this. How can we do that together? How can we offer more services? How can we do that? But it is, I want professional coaches. I don't want people that, you never meet the guy and you tell him you're in the fitness business. He's like, oh, I used to be a trainer. Like, oh, well, we're just the same. Because somebody tells you that in the UFC and you're like, oh, I did karate. Same, right?
Same thing.
There's a guy, I meet my friend, there's like a bar restaurant, and there's a guy who's the bartender there, and he's out on his smoke break one day telling me that he's a trainer too. And I'm like, yeah, because that's exactly who I am. Like, we're just the same, right? So, but that part of it is you've got to create this model where we can make not a lot of money, make enough money for people. But one of the things I think is, I've hired a lot of non-traditional trainers. I've hired clients and trained them to become trainers. If I go through my list, I've only had a few who came in as trainers prior to working with me. So it might be time for our whole model to create them, because we're like a first generation thing, right? If you're a taekwondo instructor, you had a taekwondo instructor. Most of us who are coaches didn't even come up under a coach. Like a lot, the first trainer you ever met was you, right? You got your certification. And I talk about this at seminars, is most trainers believe a trainer is valuable, right? And they believe a trainer can get someone to their goals safer and more effectively than they could just doing it on their own. Yet most trainers have never hired one. So you don't even understand how it works, right? It's like almost hypocritical. So it's really sometimes creating a trainer who used to be a client who understands, right, what this process is like, can be more valuable, and they can connect more with members.
Yeah,
right? So
I've seen one of the struggles with that specifically inside of the box is you basically take somebody who was a member and they were working out side by side with other people, try to elevate them into the coach status, and they don't get the respect from the members.
It can be hard, but I would hope that there's a little more of a educational process than just go, come on, you're teaching class on Saturday, and
that's probably what's happening.
But,
That's right.
But often this is just like a short-term problem, because if you joined my gym today, you don't know how long my guys have been working, right? So it doesn't matter when I get the new people in. It's when I think they're ready, right? And it's yeah, I understand if I pull you out of the class and you were just training alongside these guys, it's a little bit of a different thing. But not if you have a good culture where you're excited for your friend who's now got a job as a trainer, right? And all the new people don't see that. And it's also like you're not finishing your workout on a Friday and being an instructor on Saturday morning. It's going to be a little more process to that. And also it comes back to that the program design part is a high level skill, and the coaching is a high level skill. But right now I just need you to be able to teach this lunge and motivate the client. You don't need to really know why we're doing the lunge yet. So there's a path to that too. You know, so it's good. But flipping it over, just being a good athlete in the gym doesn't mean you're ever going to be a good coach, right? Like it doesn't. I mean, just because you're the star doesn't mean that you can.
It's likely you won't be.
Yeah. You had it easy.
Yeah.
You naturally were able to learn much more quickly, so you didn't have to work as hard and learn the progressions. You're like, oh, muscle up, you just do like this. What's so hard about it? Do it.
Yeah, I remember the first time I taught a muscle up, I watched YouTube videos and I go, oh, okay. And then I was teaching it and I go, just do a pull up into a dip.
That's it. What's so hard about it?
People are pulling up, kicking their feet. I'm like, you're dumb.
So thanks for that, coach. High level instruction.
I've learned a lot over the years.
Yes. Like saying how to beat Mike Tyson. Just keep him outside. Keep him outside when he comes in to punch you. Work your jab and just keep him away from you. Now off you go.
So for someone who's transitioning in your gym from, let's say, a client role to becoming a coach, what does that timeline and that process look like?
In a perfect world, it's about 6 weeks, where there's a classroom component, for want of a better word, but there's a lot of a shadowing to it. Like I think we have an internship program we do in the summer, and at the end, legal disclaimer, my internship program is not a guarantee of employment nor a prerequisite for employment. But I have hired some people who were former interns, and it seems that the 6 week thing is enough time to get you. It's a constant growth, but it's really about right now. I need you to be able to supervise this workout and help this guy do it better than he can do it without you. Now, in most gyms around the world, most people never hire any coach at all and get no instruction. So a client with my program and me helping them coach is going to be infinitely better than you doing it on your own. And that's all I want. It's like I don't need a 7th degree black belt for my beginner's class. I need a solid green belt, right, to teach this entry level. And hopefully by the time these guys are green belt, this is a black belt, right? It's not. It's like running a law firm. Not everybody can be the partner. You need lower level people, and I think it's a phrase from the E-Myth by Michael Gerber that you want the lowest level skill possible for each role, but don't confuse that with low, because at a doctor's office they all need to be doctors, right? You need a level of skill, but I don't need the top of the class graduate. I don't need the number one in the world. And it's the same with coaches. There's going to be layers to this. Not everybody's going to be a master coach, but understand for the beginner client, you don't need that. You need an appropriate someone who's got enough skill level to help you effectively. And I think with a system with someone else designing the programs and maybe doing the screening process, that streamlines the whole thing. I mean, the best small business in the world, and trainers hate to hear it because they pretend they've never heard of it. It's McDonald's. And McDonald's have high school kids running most of the operation. And it works because their systems are so smooth. You ask for a Big Mac anywhere in the world and you get the same thing. The key is about systems. It's not, there's no freestyling, like you just executing the plan.
I think you were somebody who really had and have solid systems in place, and it was really put through the test because you became sick for a while and you had to step away from the business.
Yeah.
I want to take a break and then we come back, talk about that.
All right.
Hi, my name is Jeff Stoffel. I'm the owner of Centripetal CrossFit in Erie, Colorado. I was in the classic startup phase. I was coaching, 32 classes a week of our 35. So I was there 6 days a week doing basically all of the coaching in between classes, answering emails, running through billing, trying to strap together marketing, and just whatever popped into my head. We've created a space that is the best part of everybody's day. They know it, and they know as long as they get to the gym, their day is going to be better, and that's very clear. So membership grew because of that fact, but wasn't growing because of good business process or a good marketing system or any of those things. Just kind of stuck at this 60 member mark, and thinking, how do we do more? I need to be able to hire somebody to go get the people to pay for that person, and felt stuck where I was at, didn't really know where to go. The first call that I had with Angelo ever, free intro call, hey, I'm struggling, we've met, I liked your intensity, and if you guys haven't met Angelo, you never have to wonder what he's thinking, he'll tell you, you don't have to read between the lines. Within 2 weeks, I started to basically just, because I've bought in to working with somebody, really take the advice and take it to the next level. So I'd say within 2 weeks, had a few major breakthroughs, doing silly stuff that we all know we should do, but typically don't have the balls to do it on our own without a push. And so that was increase my prices and start contracts. I am coaching fewer classes, so I'm down to about 20 classes a week, and that's a slow process to develop coaches that do a job I'm proud of. Memberships increased, so we were at 60 when I started with Angelo. Gosh, it's been 3 months now, and we're up to 75, so a very significant increase. The biggest effect on the business has been developing as a leader. It's happened very quickly, rather than being stuck thinking about an idea and the analysis paralysis, thinking through too many steps before getting started. I have taken good ideas and gotten them started and fine-tuned them as we went, which is a much better solution on the implementation for me. I would look at yourself first and ask the question, do you think other people have learned the solution and the lesson that you're currently struggling with? If you think that this has been solved before, and in the CrossFit space, you're not doing this the first time, somebody else has. I would definitely dive into it. If you're not sure if you can afford it, definitely do it. I know that sounds silly, but you're investing in yourself. That investment is never going to go away. You're improving as a leader and probably a person if you're running things right when you get a coach, and you're buying into what you're selling. If you are an entrepreneur, you own a gym, and you don't have a coach, you are asking other people to do something that you aren't willing to do yourself, would be my opinion. So I would definitely encourage you to at least have a phone call, but come to them with what are your biggest struggles and see if they've got some ideas. This group does not mind, I think, adding some value for you to prove they're worth it. Definitely, Angelo's been worth it for me.
All right, we're back. When you had something happen in your life that most people probably don't even think about until it actually happens, and you had cancer.
Yeah.
And you got really sick, and then you had to step away from the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we talk a lot about having the ability, building a real business so you have the ability to step away if you want to. And I think most people who own gyms think, well, I love coaching, I never want to take a break, whatever, and then never consider that it could potentially be not your choice.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Is that I had stage 4 cancer twice, and I was young, I was eating well, I found a lump in my thigh, so I thought I could foam roll it out. Right, it's just a knot. Turns out it was a tumor. And it's exactly that. This whole idea of your business reaching a level where you're completely free, and you can do what you want. that there's this vision of you sitting on the beach with the, like the Corona commercial where you get your feet up looking at the ocean and your gym's just running away, and then like people are like, no, I love coaching, I'll never do that. I'm like, that wasn't what I did. I had to move into UCLA to have a stem cell transplant, right? And we had insurance because of the gym, but your bills at home are still, you still have to pay your rent or your mortgage, you still have to pay your car payment, you still have to pay everything, right? So how do you create a business that runs without you? Well, that's what you should be setting up in the first place, right? And it doesn't, I think you touched on it great, is that wasn't my dream either. I wasn't planning, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a few months out to see what stage 4 cancer is like.
Right.
And battle test my systems at Results Fitness. But that's the thing, and not just you. What if it's a loved one? What if it's a wife or a kid? And you're like, no, I can. We're gonna have to go to a specialist. We're gonna have to. I mean, it's not fortunate. Stage 4 cancer is never like lucky, but being close to UCLA, which is a major hospital, I was able to come home. Between heavy chemo, the chemo then was like you do it for 7 straight days. So I was able to come home between them, and after the transplant, I was able to, once I was out of the isolation ward, I was able to come home. A lot of people move into guest housing nearby because they need you to be nearby until 100 days post-transplant, right, without getting into all the science. So what if you had to go somewhere with your son, right? You had to go to somewhere because you couldn't, your business, and it wouldn't be important anyway. Like you wouldn't fight it. Like you'd go with your son, right? But what after that if he's all better? Now your business is gone and you're broke, right? And that's the power of systems. It's not about idleness. It's not about stepping out to be lazy. It's about what if you had to? Could you? And we grew when I was out there. Like when I was out, we were able to put systems in place and get bigger. So obviously I was jamming the system, right?
Yeah.
Right? So me stepping out made it even better.
Get this guy out of here.
The longer I stayed out, the better it got.
You show back up and they're like, get out of here.
Yeah, like we're doing
We're
well.
doing good.
Finally fixed it.
So was that a situation where you had systems in place, or you got sick and then like you quickly had to figure out how I got to systemize this thing?
We had some in place. We had some, but I remember writing a lot of templates for workout programs. Like at the time, I was writing nearly all the programs with one other guy, and I was starting every time with a blank page and writing it. But then you realize that people do fall into buckets. This is a beginner body comp client. Mm-hmm. This is a beginner body comp client with a knee injury. So you start getting templates, you start getting this basic idea. So I just kind of sketched that all out. And then it was like, right, when someone, I sell more than somebody else at the gym. When someone comes in to join, what do I say? And trying to write it all down. So some of it was in place, like, a tour, answering the phone, the workouts, but a lot of it was just, and some of it, honestly, there were some dark times where you're like, I got to get everything I can out of my head so that if my wife decides to continue with this business, that she's not lost. Like the stuff that I'm doing, like we're talking on the break, there's some elite level coaches do some stuff organically, and when they're trying to teach it as a system, you're like, you don't even know what you do. You know things that I didn't even know were things, right?
Right.
And so there is that so it was a combination of we had some systems in place, but this was really like a fast track to you got to figure this out, that it's because there's a possibility not everybody wins that fight. And you don't know. There's no like. Hopefully one day we're like, hey, you hear Mikey got cancer? You're like, yeah, he's out till Monday, and then he's back Monday. Like that's hopefully what the future will be, that you take 2 Advil and you'll be fine, right? But there's not really you don't really know when you were gonna come back. So mine was just like get everything out of my head on a paper, and then give it to a coach and see if it looks the same. If not, we tweak it. And it's the phrase, you run the plan, not the man. Right? If he's following the steps, it should look the same, right? Like if he makes the Big Mac, it should look the same. Mm-hmm. If not, the plan doesn't work, right? And then you keep tweaking it. And now it's and then you bring in guys like Craig Rasmussen, who's my head trainer. He adds to it, and it becomes his own thing, and it evolves, and it's not just my stuff anymore. It becomes our stuff. But the idea is systemization. But that was what it started. It wasn't about going for an extended vacation for fun. Yeah, I was going for an extended vacation because there's no other options. So I don't like to make people, think negatively, but it's you have, if you can't step out of this, it doesn't matter if you want to or not. What if you had to? Can you? Right? You're going to close your gym. You're going to close your CrossFit box because, and everything that you tried to build has just gone away because you didn't have any systems. You didn't have anybody who could replicate it. That's not awesome.
Yeah. Sounds like you started with program design.
Yeah, it was all we'd started in the gym trying to figure it out because I had a couple of staff at the time, and what does a workout look like? Like when somebody arrives, what do we do? And I mean, I always joke, like at some point my warm up was 5 minutes on the treadmill. I go on the treadmill for 5 minutes, and then we'll start a real warm up, really just so I would have a 5 minute break, right? And then you're like, all right, let me get start. So we call it ramping,
Yeah.
because we used to say like, did you warm up? You're like, yeah, I jogged here. So now we call it RAMP, which stands for range of motion, activation, and movement prep.
I like that.
Did you do all of those? Did you get your range of motion yet? So you're like, you can't just be hot and be ready to go. Like
Totally.
it's hot outside and I jogged here. So we started like, what does a workout look like? And that helped it. And then it was the next thing was, all right, when someone comes in, what does the program look like? What am I doing in my head, and how do I write it down on paper? Like, it's like, how do you catch a ball? Like you just catch it. Well, you don't. You go to catching stance on number one. Do your feet like that. Like, so that's the idea. And that was actually harder than I thought. Like, because you've learned a lot of stuff, and you are doing things organically. Like what's the first thing you teach when you're teaching a power clean? You're like, well, okay, now I know what I'm doing, right? Like you start thinking about what I would actually do, and that's the idea. So it was the stuff that was really in my wheelhouse, which the coach in the program design. And my wife, who's an elite coach, she was more in charge of the operations at the time, and then it's just really evolved from there. Every system we have has been a solution to a problem, right? If you answer the phone differently from me, so a prospect calls and 8 out of 10 people come in when you answer the phone, and 4 out of 10 come in when I answer the phone, and we're not saying the same thing.
Right.
So let's say the same thing. So, and we're going to choose what you say because it's better right now, right? But then everybody says the same thing, so that it doesn't matter who's there. Like I said, it's the phone gets answered the same way, and the results should be the same. And it starts to get into things like we do the I don't know if there's anything around here, probably not, because I'm looking for it. We do like a drop 2 sizes program where we drop 2 gene sizes in about 6
right
weeks.
over there.
Oh, there you go. There's one there, the Rock Your Genes Challenge. And the idea is that if you run a system enough times, when the coaching is on point, and that's the same, and the programming is on point, and that's the same, and you've got this nutrition program that's all battle tested, now I can guarantee the results, right? I can get it done because this always works. Because it only doesn't work if we don't follow this, right?
Right.
Like if you put, like if I get a recipe to make cookies, and you just follow the recipe, it might not be perfect, but it'll be pretty close if we've got a good recipe. Where it goes awry is when you're like, I'm gonna throw a little bananas in this mix because I like that shit, right? And you know what's interesting? I think I heard Thomas Plummer say that the guys want to pee and mark their territory so fast that they want to change something and make it their own before they've even done it. Whereas females will follow it to the letter, and it'll be a longer time before they start to tweak it. And I'm not saying they follow everything as a script, but I can guarantee results because there's not an art form to this. Like we're just we're replicating the same steps, and that's the power. Once you can do that, I'm like, all right, now I can increase referrals because it always works. Right, the results are always there if you follow this plan. Like, and there's genetic differences, but I'm like, I can get this done because we're not. It's the Blue Man Group in Vegas. A lot of people don't know that it's not a star of the show. They just put somebody else in blue paint and they do the show, right? So if somebody gets injured,
They've tricked me. I thought it was just a lot of the same guy.
So if somebody gets injured, they just put the next guy in, right? They just put the next guy in. The 007 movies are the same. It doesn't matter who it is because they just put the next guy in who runs the system. But then, Siegfried and Roy, that show's over. Right? As Chris Rock said, the tiger didn't go crazy. That tiger went tiger. But they're unable to replicate that because it was an art form, right? Like that's the and it's you've got to be really have a clear vision of where you want to go as a business owner. I think it was Rocky 1 is Rocky starring Sylvester Stallone, but by Rocky 2 it was Stallone in Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
That people are going to see him.
Yep.
That you couldn't replace him, and that's something that I don't want that. I don't want people to come and join Results Fitness because they want to work with me. Like, I was always aware of that, and then, like I said, it sort of got fast tracked when I got sick to have this system where it's about my team and our mission rather than working with me in particular or Craig in particular or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you're one of the first people that pointed out that you shouldn't name your business after yourself
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah, and I did it.
If it's Doug's Fitness, then people want to show up and train with Doug.
Yeah.
And you can't get away because people are like, well, I don't want to train with Mike because
Yeah.
it says Doug on the sign.
Fucking Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially when it's Doug and his wife's fitness, and then you hire one extra person. You're like, well, I definitely don't want that guy, right? So
Right.
we did it in the beginning. It was called Cosgrove Fitness Training, but part of it was I thought it was just going to be me. Like, you don't have any ideas. Like, I just was going to train myself, and I called it, when I was in New York, I called it Cosgrove Strength and Conditioning System, so I could say CSCS. Probably got a cease and desist from the NSC.
No
But
client had any idea why that was
I
funny or
know.
cool.
No.
but then you start, like, you get your trainer's head on, right? You're coming up with cool names. You're like, well, we won't name it after ourselves. How about cutting edge conditioning? Well, that sounds like a hair salon as well, right? Like, when a client reads it, you think like a trainer. Like, if you ask a trainer, what does eccentric mean? They're like, oh, it's lowering a weight. I'm like, no, it means an odd person. They're a little eccentric, right? Could we speak a different language? But
Right.
So you can't let us choose the names, But I think it's there's a few exceptions to it, but in general, naming it after yourself, if you get any idea of growth, it's a hurdle that you're going to have a fight with.
I think what's really common is people open up a gym thinking that they're not going to grow, or like they're not going to grow beyond themselves. There's a lack of vision.
Yeah.
Or their vision.
Yeah, let's be shit at this.
Or
we're not more gym
or
and be
That's
shit
my
at this.
vision.
Or their vision
Yeah.
changes over time.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, yeah.
like, oh yeah, I'll always coach the classes. I'll only need maybe 2 other coaches, and then 3 years in, they're like, fuck, this has become a different thing, and now I have a bigger vision. Now I have to make all these changes. So I think that's really good advice.
Well, it's also, though, you're like, what was your plan? What was your exit strategy for this? Right, you're just gonna train all the classes.
Don't need one.
And hopefully, hopefully between now and 75, you'll just accumulate enough cash that you're solid. Right?
Yeah.
That was your entire plan.
somehow somehow
Don't
it
worry.
will just make it into my bank account.
Like, I'm just gonna.
Are you saying that's not a good plan?
I've seen better ones. Yeah, I've seen better ones. Yeah. The best advice that I think I've had is any business you run, you have to design it so you could sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
regardless of how you feel, if I can't come in and buy your business from you, right? And the biggest thing I see is no agreements in place,
Mhm.
right? Your clients are paying cash as they go, or everything's month to month. It's not worth a whole lot when I don't know how much you're making in December.
Yeah.
Right? But you don't have to, it's like you don't have to step out, you don't have to sell it, but you have to be able to. Like, if I come in and, you're, like, I have to be able to take this and be able to run it without you running it all.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
there is a little part of that, your first idea of opening a gym, and probably mine too, is you were just fed up at another gym. So you're like, I'll get my own place and remove these headaches.
Mhm.
And then you find all these other new headaches, and then you just realize that you didn't open a business, you just got yourself a job, and your boss is an asshole, right? He's an asshole psycho,
Doesn't know
doesn't
what he's
give anything up, doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's really hard on me.
Business, if it wasn't for staff and customers, it'd be a walk in the park.
This would be amazing.
Yeah, I always thought about just people in general. Just if we could do business without people, it'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the I like the perspective that you stated earlier. The systems are put in place. I'll let you restate it. Systems are put in place as a solution.
Yeah,
So when you see a problem,
Fix the problem.
I think a lot of times people see a problem, they might get mad at a person, or they just put a Band-Aid on it and walk away.
Yeah.
And that sounds like a really great. Every time there's a problem, there's a really great opportunity to put a system in place.
Yeah, and I think every time a pilot gets on a flight, he goes through a checklist to make sure he's safe to take off. And we arrive at work with no idea how we're going to make money today. We're just hoping that, we'll open, and remember that whole thing, like, build it and they will come,
Mhm.
right? That's not the quote. The quote from that movie is build it and he will come. A single guy, one. So when you focus on that, you're getting one member ever, right? So it is when you start realizing, right, that I'm not the phone's an easy example. 10 people call and you get 8 of them in for initial appointments. I'm getting 4 in. We're not doing the same thing, and it's more. I'd rather see us both getting 6. It sounds weird, because there's a problem there that it matters who answers the phone now, right? So if you're out sick, business collapses. You leave, business collapses, right? Because you're doing something different. Well, let's figure out what you're doing, and we'll both do that.
Yeah.
And then if we decide to test something, now it's like running a new training program. You're like, I know this program works. What if we switch deadlifts off the floor to deadlifts off boxes? Is the results go up? Do we go down? We made one change and we can see what happens, right? Because we've got a system. It's to the point where if you have a client on a nutrition program and they're not following it, make it easier, because I need them to follow it before I can make any changes, right? I need compliance before I can tweak it. So it's more like, let's just follow this script for answering the phone, and we'll tweak from here. I don't need you freestyling right now, because you got a job at this gym because there's more demand for what we have to offer than I can fulfill personally, not because you've got a cool accent on the phone, right? Although you do, right? But we're not like you didn't get a job at McDonald's because your mom has a cool spaghetti recipe and you can bring it into the mix and help them. Like it's to scale it up what's already going on, and that's the idea of systems. Is I don't want improv. I don't want to create stars. I've got great coaches, but it's because it's great systems. Systems make average people amazing. If you can follow the system, it makes average people amazing. Jiu-jitsu is a system, right? Like Brazilian Jiu-jitsu is, there's a criteria of how we teach this, there's a progression of how we teach this, and we move up. And that's why it works. And yeah, different schools may have different methods, but we still understand there's a basic progression to this, right? There's a basic idea that this is how we teach this. And, schools is a progression. High school is a progression. There's systems in place. Like these things are... Anything that has a high level of success that's replicable is built upon systems.
Do you find that certain people are better at running certain systems than others, or gravitate? Because, I found that to be true. Is sometimes somebody might not be as good on the floor as they are in running administrative tasks.
Yeah, I think that if you hire for culture and core values, you hire for personality, and you train for skill. Like if I find good, I just feel like everything I know I've learned. So right. As strange as that sounds, right? So we can teach this to people, but there are going to be people who are like, you guys met Donna earlier, our project manager. Donna will execute systems to the letter and never deviate, but she will never come up with one, right? That's not where her strengths lie. So it's finding these people and getting them in their sweet spot, right? That you have. You've all got the guy that like you just want to hang out with this guy because he's fun, right? And he'd be a great trainer because you just want to hang out with him and he'll push you and he's a good workout buddy. But this guy could not write a program to save his life. But we could find a role for him, right? We could find a place on the team for him and we could teach stuff. But yeah, I think you can teach anything, but I don't think everybody fits in right roles. So when you get somebody that doesn't really fit in your organization, I like to move them around first because I saw something there, right? And, they might be better over here. They might be, better as our front desk position. We call them "We Got Your Back" team because they support everything else that we do, right? So there's people there that they work really well in that role. Other people are a little more like my program design guys are kind of like more cerebral, and our high energy coaches are high energy coaches. So it's you find someone's sweet spot and then you give them the mic, right, and you let them run with it. Like there's a strength coach from Europe, from Scotland actually, Frank Dick, who wrote the first training book I ever read. It's called Sports Training Principles, and he's went on to be like a management consultant for teams and businesses, and he says. Training a staff member it's like recruit, develop, inspire, and then unleash. Like at some point you got to let them, give them the platform to do stuff. But that's I think you touched on it. Some people are going to be much better administrative and behind the scenes, and some people are going to be much better as the star of the show.
How do you blend together having rigorous systems that people need to follow to the letter, and then unleashing somebody?
Well, that's the part is that you would remember I was talking about the compensation, recognition, and the growth. So I unleash you, but the idea being is I want to unleash you so we can go even bigger than you, right? So let's say like I've got two people that are sort of in charge of our obstacle course racing and Spartan racing people, but we need to develop a system in this, right? So you guys are going to run it, but I need you to be able to teach people with it too. So I'm unleashing you to do this with the idea being that what we never want to do is just have an n=1 over here where you're doing something on your own. Like we want to grow together. So when you get to that point, like I'm unleashing you and I'm supporting you, but it's supporting us. Like I'm not. I want you to go further. I want my guys to have speaking opportunities. Like I want them to write articles. I want them to have all the opportunity. I always wanted to run the gym I wish I'd worked for and would never have had to leave, right? Like if this had existed when I started out as a trainer, I'd still be at that place, and that's the idea is if there's no ceiling to where you can go and the impact you can have, then why would you ever go anywhere? So it's unleashing them with the idea that it's this contribution to something bigger than yourself. It's not just you becoming the star. Right? We were looking at there's a spinning place near here that we don't offer that, but they've got a really strong like following. And I was like, you could almost buy that as a lateral move, right? You could buy a place like that as a expanding your brand, and you could partner with them to some level because you complement a little bit and you don't compete. But this place in particular, they really want to make stars. Like Johnny's class is Tuesday and it's killer. Stevie's, no, I don't want that. Like I want systems. Like I want where I can take you out and put somebody else in, and the client experience, because it's not about you. It's about the client. The client experience is unchanged,
So if you have a lot of systems and you know that you're going to be making more and more systems or changing and evolving your current systems as the business evolves, do you have a system for developing systems?
Yeah, that's something that the
Meta
E-Myth
system design.
that's the E-Myth has it's probably available for free online on how to a system for developing a system where you basically just go through the key things and then you battle test it and see if it comes out the same way. You put it through the same thing. But that's the idea. Is that often it's just getting everything out of your head and into manuals, right? However form that manual is, whether it's a binder on the desk or it's a Google Doc in the cloud somewhere, or like it's just really about getting, here's how we do things here. Step 1, go to the store and pick up these ingredients. Come home, mix the cookie batter into these little shapes, put them on the tray, right? That's the real idea. And people will get overwhelmed about systems. Start with a tour of your gym. When someone comes in, what do you show them? And just do that the same way every time, right? Just so you do it. Because you have systems. You have systems that people are freestyling, right? And it's just, your business is too important for improv. All the Broadway shows have scripts. All the movies have scripts. If Harrison Ford went off script in the first Star Wars and just did his own thing, would it have been as good? I don't know. But weren't taking that risk. If you decide to mix up your own version of a Big Mac, could you make a better hamburger than McDonald's? Of course you could. But nobody's giving you millions of dollars for your recipe, right? And that's the power of it. It's that can you replicate it? Can you guarantee it? And that's key.
So if a business is not systemized and they want to become systemized, certainly if you had a company that you planned out the whole thing, and then you, as you begin the company, as you're hiring, you have systems already built. You hire someone, you bring them in, you say, here's the system, here's what you're going to do. They have systems from day one. You're going to be hiring someone who has the expectation that they're following this process, etc. There's less resistance to it. If someone's been in business for 5 or 6 years and now all of a sudden they're like, you know what, this place has been a shit show for a long time. We've been in business, but we could be better. We need systems. But you have your current staff that you want to have follow these new systems. Certainly, I would imagine in some cases you're going to get some resistance to, we used to be able to wing it and do whatever we wanted to. There's a lot of freedom. We're having a lot of fun. And now it's work because now we have to follow these systems. We're being held accountable. How do you manage that?
You got to get, first of all, you got to have a culture that this is a team. It's not about you. And I understand you like the freedom. I don't want to take away the freedom. I want to make the structure so that there's more freedom. So how do we do that together? Because Jane does this well and you do this well. How can we both do it well? Right? So I would have the team build the systems in, but I need to get the buy-in as to here's our vision. I want to guarantee results and I want to give you more vacation time. Does that sound good? I want to give you more money and more vacation time. here's how we do that by having a replicable system that never fails.
I want
And
to
you've
come work
got-
for you.
Right? That's it.
Yeah.
You've got strengths and you've got strengths and you've both got weaknesses. Well, let's figure out what these weaknesses are and what these strengths are, so that together the synergy is bigger than the whole is bigger than the sum of the parts. But I would get them involved. I don't want it to be at some level it's
Dictatorship.
it is going to be a dictatorship, because at some point it's my ass on the line for this whole thing, right?
Right.
But I want your part in it, and usually there's if you've had no systems at all, if these people are resistant, they're not part of your mission going forward, right?
Yep.
Because if improv and freedom is their number one core value, and yours is not, they're not going to be a fit going forward, right? So, but they're probably a close enough fit, or you'd have them gone already, right? That's the real reason, is they're still around and they're still good. And but what if you're the best trainer in the gym and you're full? Will you sell me a membership knowing that I'm not going to get the best trainer? That's what you're offering then. So I'm like, well, can't I get your methodology then run by someone who will run the session as if they're playing you, right? As if they've stepped into your role because you're off tonight, right? And then we can at least get. Now maybe it's not as good as you would do, but it's better than anybody else in town, right? It's the second best training in town, right? And then eventually, like, everything gets better because we've got a proven track record. And it's the power of systems is, like I said, systems can make average people amazing, right? And that's our idea, is that together with the strong team that we've had, it's not going to get worse with more systems and more structure. It's going to get better, and we're all going to make more money and have more time and have more fun. Because it's every day you come in and you've had to wing it. Imagine if you didn't have to wing it, you just knew exactly what to do and you could guarantee results. That'd be awesome for you too. Well, let's do that. Let's create the world's greatest training program. Where do we start? Then it's something you do together. It's that you don't want it to be like, here's how we're going to do things, right? Like why don't we build this together? But you can guide it, right? There's a reason I had you on board, and it's probably not because you're inconsistency, right? It's probably not because you're all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, when we first started implementing systems at my gym, it was the dictatorship approach to, like, well, I want to document all this stuff because I'm systems oriented and I knew what I wanted to accomplish. When it was just me and my partner trying to move this forward, no buy-in from the team. The second we started making it about, well, I want to learn what you're doing. Can we do this together? And we started to get everyone's buy-in, and it became a thing that we were all doing together. We were able to progress the business so rapidly.
Yeah, it's exponential at that
and
point,
people
right?
felt ownership over the whole thing, even though they didn't create the script on how to answer the phone.
Yeah.
They got to practice it and be a part of it and give their 2 cents to it. And if it's like, hey, that worked better, let's add it in.
But you know you've dialed it in when a team member pulls aside a new team member and says, that's not how we do things here.
Yep.
Right, because this is how it is here. This is our culture here. This is not, we don't do things like that. And it's part of it is not, it's the answering the phone system maybe you didn't come up with, but man, she didn't come up with the training program, but she has to sell a membership for your training program. So let's learn her. Let's figure out how we can consistently get people in the door to get to your awesome training program. That makes sense, right? And how come results aren't always great across the board? Because on Fridays you're tired, and Friday nights you're not as good. Well, what if we took you off for Fridays, but we had somebody coming in running your exact programs, right? We do this together, right? It's have you seen the movie Burnt with Bradley Cooper? I think it's called Burnt. He's a chef in the UK, and he's trying to get his 3rd Michelin star. And someone will tell him when the reviewers will come in. They'll do little clues, and the whole movie is about his transition as an owner. And whenever they would come in, he would take over the food. He would do it himself.
Wow.
Like if I got a celebrity athlete come in, like when I was younger, I'm like, I'll run this because this is an important client. Like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm not doing the system. So at the end of the movie, which I'm just going to spoil it for everybody who hasn't seen it, the reviewers arrive, and they're identified, and someone comes in and tells them, like, the Michelin review team is here, and he's like, all right, we do what we do, guys, and we do it together. And he ran his kitchen like he runs it for no matter who was there, and he gets his star and he gets his review. But that was the whole idea, is that,
Nice.
we do what we do, and we do it together.
Well, first of all, thank you for saving me 2 hours on watching that movie. But I think you're absolutely right. You know, you get when you have the buy-in from everybody, and for us a big eye opener was everyone else understanding how everyone else is contributing to this bigger system. That it's not just a series of independent like checklists.
Yeah.
It's about what this means really for our overall combined mission and our combined effort. From, like you said, you know, if she can't sell your training program, you don't have a job.
Yeah.
And so we need to all help her do her job. So let's all experiment. Let's all contribute.
You did an amazing job with those sessions and writing that program and training that client. But you know what? We forgot to collect the money, so you're not getting paid this month, right? Right? Because we're part of this together, right?
that.
Like we're part of it together, and people have their roles, and it's there's going to be more important roles, but there's no unimportant roles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a place. So and it's the idea being is that it's. I think the acronym stands save yourself, stress, time, energy, money, right? That's system. Save yourself, stress, time, energy, money.
Got it.
Right? But that's the idea is we're trying to replicate stuff.
That's 2 in one show.
That's all, I'm going
Keep
to
it
go
rolling.
home and just like sit in the dark on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Alwyn, thank you for all the incredible advice. We have to go.
Alrighty.
And I'm inspired.
Thanks, man.
This was like you just hit on so many pain points that I know that not just gym owners but business owners overall, just you hit on every pain point that we have, and it was awesome.
Well, if it's not system, it's improv, and your bank account's too important for you to let somebody else wing it for you, right?
Yeah.
That's the real reason.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Agreed.
Where can
Cheers,
people
guys.
find your stuff?
I have a couple of places. ResultsFitnessUniversity.com is our home-based website for our consulting company, and I have a little Facebook group called Alan Cosgrove's Private Fitness Business Facebook group, something like that. If you put it in Facebook, you'll find it. And I try to do a Facebook Live there a couple of times a week. I try to answer some questions and post some stuff, and I have some cool giveaways there for anybody who wants to come. It's completely free. I am going to try to sell you shit later, but it's completely free in the meantime. Just so you know.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
And also, as a public thank you, you really were one of the people that helped us get off the ground with our first business, and we're really excited to be here to learn from you
Don't
today.
have to thank me. You just have to pay it forward. That's the deal.
Agreed.
Deal.
We'll do it.
That's what.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks,
Cheers,
Alan.
guys. Thank you.
Cool.